The house on King Road, if you've been following the case against Bryan Kohberger and the four Idaho college students who were murdered more than a year ago now, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is the home where the tragedy took place, where the murders took place, and those four young students lost their lives. Since then, it's been a crime scene. It's been investigated. It's been combed through. It's been emptied. It's been boarded up. And now it sits. It's a rather large eyesore in a rather small town of Moscow, Idaho. But it is a piece of evidence in a case, one of the biggest cases that we've ever seen. A case that still does not have a date for trial, but they want the house gone. Both the defense, the prosecution, the owners of the home, which is the University of Idaho, all say, go ahead, take it down. Is that the best decision? As of this recording, it is still standing. There may be a civil injunction filed by some of the victims' families to try and stop that, but we don't know exactly where that's going to land yet. Joining us to discuss, Shavaun Scott, psychotherapist and author. Obviously, this is a big piece of evidence. Not all trials do go for field trips. And if the prosecution is saying, we don't care if it goes, the defense is saying, we don't care if it goes, I can't imagine there's really many plans for the field trip with a jury. Should it just go? Or should they hold on to this thing just in case?
Yeah, I always try to see both sides. And there's this thing about associational cues for trauma, and meaning things that we see in the environment set off intense emotional reactions. And I think this horrible house of murder has got to be a horrendous associational cue for the students who have to look at it all the time. It's sort of like re-experiencing the fear, the trauma in every possible way. People experience it viscerally. So I get that. I'm sure most people in the community would be relieved to just have it disappear. So that makes perfect sense to me. But I also can see the side of, is there a possible benefit evidentiary,
Mhm.
for the trial? And so it's one of those things. I think these two sides are going to have to battle it out. I mean, I think if I were there, I would probably rather that it were gone, but I can totally see, is this gonna benefit down the road?
And I think that's kind of the analysis that's going on here, the costs and benefits of should it stay. Obviously, totally understand if I lived there and I knew that Koberger was going to be convicted and he's already guilty or something of that nature. Yeah, tear it down, but we're not there yet.
Yeah.
And we don't know what's going to all make it into this trial yet. To assume that it's such a slam dunk that we really don't need this thing, I think it is a little premature. But at the same point, is there a reason why the prosecution is cool with this thing going down?
Right.
Is it not quite the piece of evidence that those of us on the outside looking in think that it actually is?
Right, right. It's really hard to know, and we don't have access to all the information about what they've already collected from the house. We know that they went over it. They did a lot of, collecting, but I can totally understand that if there's any benefit at all for getting to the truth, that there would be an urge to keep it.
Yeah, and they'll just have to see where that all ends up landing. It seems like something that really it could be very powerful in the mind of a jury. We saw that in the Alec Murdaugh case where they went on that field trip, and again, it's a rare thing for that to have take place to actually take the jury to the location as they did there. I'm almost wondering though if in everyone's mind we're thinking, oh yeah, you can walk through, you can touch, feel really get a sense, a taste the environment of what this was. And I don't know if there's too much of an assumption going in that, oh yeah, if they walk through this, this will make this all make much more sense and really prove that yes, this one person could go in there and do that. Or I do wonder if it could actually work against the prosecution and make it even more unbelievable, if you will. And I'm not saying this is an unbelievable
Yeah.
case, but sometimes you get into a situation and go, wow, this really did happen here. Seriously? How did they pull that off? You probably don't want
Mhm.
that if you're trying to
Mhm.
convict this man of
Mhm.
murder.
Yeah. Yeah, and just as for the students, it's an associational cue for trauma.
Mhm.
I would think for jurors walking through, it would be the same thing. It
Yeah.
would be a highly emotional experience. And how would that impact things?
We'll have to see what happens with with that house on King Road. Hey, it's Tony Brueski. If you like the podcast, be sure to like, subscribe, and press that bell so you don't miss any of our updates on the cases we're following for you right here at the Hidden Killers podcast from True Crime Today. And thanks